If you're watching this, the woman who got pregnant using my teas, congratulations. My assumption is that you read on the bag that you should discontinue use after getting pregnant. So good for you for doing that. And I'm sorry that your husband wasn't more a part of the process in really paying attention to and understanding what you were doing and what you were drinking. And he can drink them if he wants to. They're not really meant for him, but they won't hurt him. However, I'll say it again and again, and it says it on every bag, on every web page, and on every product. The herbs for fertility are not appropriate once you have a positive pregnancy test. Up until a positive pregnancy test, it's fine. Once you have a positive pregnancy test, discontinue use and switch to one of our pregnancy blends, which are very gentle and very safe for pregnancy. Hello, my name is Ariel Myers, and I'm the founder of Wisdom of the Womb. We are a fertility tea company, and recently we were apparently made the front page of Reddit. I've never been on Reddit before, and after going on to check out that situation, I'm definitely never going back. Oh, that was a brutal place. But it did bring up, so basically, a man posted a picture of our teas and said that his wife got pregnant after 3 years of trying. Congratulations. And that she no longer wanted to drink the teas, which is good because right on the bag it says, once you get pregnant, discontinue use. And then he was kind of joking, I wonder what will happen if I drink the teas. And so basically, there was a lot of commentary about that the teas were dangerous for pregnant women, and that, we were, trying to give women abortions. And, I mean, I take everything with a grain of salt there. Because I hope that most people would see that the first line of the post was that his wife got pregnant after 3 years of trying. But it did lead me to feel that education is important. What I was reading most underneath like the anger and the kind of meanness and cruelty of the posts was a lot of fear, actually, and a misunderstanding about herbs and how herbs are used and how they're meant to be used. There were a few specific herbs that were brought up that I can speak to. And yeah, mostly a lot of like misunderstanding. So I want to speak to that. And also just like talk about the fear that is often projected pretty aggressively onto women's bodies, about our reproductive health, about our sexuality, and also herbalism that, I believe these things that come from the earth are here for us, for our use. But yeah, if they're not used correctly and they're used inappropriately, they can be dangerous. Are they more dangerous than pharmaceuticals when used sometimes as directed? I don't think so, but we can definitely talk about that. So that is what I'm here to do. I will say the main part of the discussion on Reddit was that the herbs in the teas are not meant for pregnancy. And that is correct. They're not meant for pregnancy. But I did want to talk about why the things we might use for fertility to improve fertility might not be appropriate for pregnancy. Because sometimes the thing with herbs is that we don't really understand how they work. So we're just like, oh, they're dangerous. So they might be dangerous if they're just in your body in general. So the two formulas that were posted were my Fertile Mama tea and also my womb warming tea. The Fertile Mama tea is a more balanced blend. It's like you could take it all month. The womb warming tea is specifically if you have like cold in your uterus. Often we tend to have a coldness in our uterus, so we will want to warm it up. The things that are in both teas that would not be appropriate for pregnancy. One of the reasons we often will not get pregnant or will have difficulty getting pregnant is that we might have some blockage or stagnation. stagnation of chi or blood. It's like the energy is stuck, and so around it, the blood will get stuck. We could develop fibroids, we could develop endometriosis, we could have cramping before our periods. And so often when infertility is an issue and those things are present, cramping, stagnation, stasis, fibroids, fallopian tube blockage, endometriosis, what we want to do is move the energy, right? We want to move the blood and move the chi. We're invigorating energy so that we don't have a block to the chi to reach our reproductive organs, the energy to reach our reproductive organs, and we can conceive because everything is moving the way we should be, the way it should be. However, obviously, once we get pregnant, we don't want to keep invigorating the chi, right? We want to then hold it in and up and sustain it. So yes, the things that we would use for fertility to invigorate and energize and move our energy, we do want to stop once we get pregnant. I will talk a little bit about the 2-week wait because that's often a question. But one of the other herbs that was spoken about specifically was mugwort, which is a very warming herb. And so that is kind of one of the other issues. Sometimes we might have low progesterone, we might have a shortened luteal phase, we might have a luteal phase where our temperatures don't elevate enough, we might have cold. Sometimes you could even feel it if you just put the back of your hand above your belly button as opposed to below. If it's warmer above your belly button but cold below, you might know you have some cold stuck in your womb, in your uterus. They used to call it back in the olden days like a cold womb. We want our womb to be warm. And so, especially since so many of us are like eating salads and smoothies and iced beverages all the time, we often get a cold womb. So warming our womb is really important, and mugwort is one of the herbs to do that. And that can actually help with thickening our uterine lining, and it can help with implantation. But again, we don't want to keep warming up our womb. So it's not appropriate for pregnancy. One of the other herbs that was spoken about that is not effective or not used during pregnancy is licorice. One of the things that licorice does energetically in terms of traditional Chinese medicine, which is the type of herbalism I studied. And again, like, I don't think people are just supposed to be taking herbs all over the place. If you do get herbs from anywhere, they should be from someone who studied some kind of herbalism. And that's sometimes I feel a little bit on the fence about that, because this really is and should be like a lineage that was passed down. And so if a woman or a person has worked with herbs her whole life but didn't formally study them, I feel like that's a different kind of education. That's an education like in nature. And so that to me is as legitimate as any like school, herbalism program. Is actually working with the herbs, studying the herbs, using them, engaging with them, having a relationship with the herbs. What I'm talking about is like people just going on like Google and being like, what herbs are good for this? And then just like making their own concoction without really kind of paying attention to the deep energy and the energetic relationship that's being developed between you and the herb. So I could have a whole discussion about that. But licorice, there was a study that shows that over 500 milligrams a day of consistent use of licorice throughout the pregnancy can reduce the birth weight of a baby. So first of all, 500 milligrams of licorice a day is a huge amount. So even in one of my bags of fertility teas, not pregnancy teas, there's no licorice at all in my pregnancy teas, but in my fertility teas, there's probably no more than 500 milligrams in the entire bag. That said, what we're doing what licorice does is it kind of harmonizes the three, we call them jiaos or burners in our body. So the upper burner would be our lung and our heart energy. The middle burner would be our digestive organs, and our lower burner would be like our reproductive organs, our kidneys. And so licorice helps to harmonize them, helps to kind of like bring all the energy so that they're kind of flowing synergistically and harmoniously. However, during pregnancy, what we want to do is bring all of our energy to most of our energy is going to our middle burner, to our like womb, to our earth element to help support a baby, and to our lower burner a little bit. So we don't want to be dissipating it to the other burners. We want it to be focused there. So that's why, if I can think about the energetic of it, I would think that that's why perhaps licorice, when taken in excess, that is a lot, 500 milligrams a day, over the course of an entire pregnancy, you're kind of moving it away from bringing your chi to your baby. So that's why I would think it lowers birth weight. But yeah, it's like the fear around it of like, oh, this is bad for it. It's like, I think it's really important to understand why, like what is it doing that it's bad? And yeah, of course, you're not going to be like strongly moving blood and chi when you're pregnant. Of course, you're not going to be like strongly warming up your womb when you're pregnant. You might be gently warming it. So it feels important to say that yes, all of the herbs that are in the pregnancy blends, which is, I just have one pregnancy blend. It's called Blissful Mama Tea. And then one that's later on you could take after 36 weeks, which supports labor. Yeah, the herbs that we use for fertility are different. I did say talk about the 2-week wait because there is sometimes a fear of like, what if I'm pregnant and I don't know that I'm pregnant, and then I've been taking this stuff. And so the reality is that it's not like a pharmaceutical, like herbs are not like a pharmaceutical, well, like, you'll take it and it can like cause some severe reaction all at once. But that usually when a woman is trying to get pregnant, and so she's drinking any of my blends, usually she's been trying to get pregnant for a while and she knows she's added something new. And so usually she's testing regularly. And as soon as she has a late period, she's testing. So often, if there's like 2 weeks from the time of ovulation until the time that she tests, there's time after you ovulate that the fertilized embryo needs to travel the length of the fallopian tube and implant in the uterus. So that right there, that traveling the length of the fallopian tube, implanting and embedding, burrowing into the uterus takes a lot of energy. So some of those energizing herbs that you would stop taking once you find out you're pregnant, you actually can use and need to help support not having an ectopic pregnancy, to support implantation. And it's not enough if there's anything in there that like would not support pregnancy, like 500 milligrams a day of licorice. There's such a small amount in there. And if you're drinking 2 cups a day, even of tea, it's not like enough to do damage within that first 2 weeks. I know some women who like didn't know they were pregnant for months and were doing like Coke and drinking alcohol, and their babies were, and I don't recommend that, obviously. I'm just saying, like, a viable pregnancy and a healthy pregnancy is definitely usually able to withstand at least a couple of weeks of like not knowing and not being so careful. Some of these recommendations, we live in America, and Americans tend to do things all or nothing. So sometimes they do need to be like nothing, like no alcohol. Whereas like women in France might have a glass of wine and it's acceptable during pregnancy. Again, I'm not making any recommendations. I'm just saying what I've seen. There was one other thought that I had. Oh, as far as miscarriage. So yeah, there have been, I mean, we've worked with women who there was one woman who had 21 miscarriages before using our products. I do recommend using we have a recurrent miscarriage bundle and some products for miscarriage to support miscarriage, but I do recommend giving your body at least 3 cycles to really like support yourself without trying to get pregnant, to really build up the energy you need for miscarriage. I have a miscarriage workshop too, because we do have a few different tendencies, energetic tendencies that could contribute to miscarriage. Again, if it's like I say this all the time, that's what I'm saying again, if it's not a viable pregnancy, either for genetic reasons, like there's nothing you can do to prevent a miscarriage of a pregnancy that's not viable. However, there tends to be some imbalances that can contribute to miscarriage. One would be like we don't have that warming energy, right? Heat rises, so we hold things in and up. If we don't have enough chi or energy to hold things in and up, we also could have some like fibroids or blood stasis that could prevent, burrowing deeply enough into the uterine lining or having enough space to grow. So those are all things that are important to know, like what might be contributing to them. So that's why the workshop is good, to just help you kind of get a sense of your tendencies, your patterns. But it is good to have at least 3 cycles where you're doing whatever the recommended formula is regularly, to either support your yang energy, support your chi energy, move through some blockage. And we have had women who have had, over 10 pregnancies that didn't, that weren't sustained, who then use our products and were able to carry to term. But we do recommend, if you do have a tendency to miscarry, to not do some of the more, when you do try to get pregnant on a certain cycle, to maybe not do some of like the more aggressive womb massage or yoni steaming post ovulation. So those are my things about the specific herbal blends. But I will say in general, reading through those posts, which were hateful and cruel, but also I take them with a grain of salt. But what I saw most in there was a lot of fear about the woman's body, about women's reproductive health, about a woman's sexuality. I just think there's a lot of misinformation about herbs. This lineage of using herbs and using the earth's abundance to not only support and heal our bodies, but to empower women, empower other women to kind of take responsibility and take ownership and take charge of and be connected to their fertility, and so their reproductive health, and so their sexuality. It feels like this lineage was really taken from us, and kind of pretty severely rejected for thousands of years. And it feels really important to reclaim it, that this medicine is here for us. These allies, these plant allies, are here for us. And when we know how to use them, and we can work with them, and we can learn about them and explore our relationship with them, and pay attention to how we feel and to listen to our body when we're working with them, it could be really empowering. And my guess is that this husband, who didn't seem that involved in his wife's experience, he was kind of like, yeah, I don't know. My guess is that his wife kind of read the bag and knew what she was doing. She might have even gone to the website. He said it was gifted to her from a friend. But we do share a ton of educational materials. We do share a lot of free information. We want this to be available to all women, to be able to explore and trust and learn to pay attention to their bodies and their reproductive health. And if you're watching this, the woman who got pregnant using my teas, congratulations. My assumption is that you read on the bag that you should discontinue use after getting pregnant. So good for you for doing that. And I'm sorry that your husband wasn't more a part of the process, in really paying attention to and understanding what you were doing and what you were drinking. And he can drink them if he wants to. They're not really meant for him, but they won't hurt him. Yeah, if you have any more questions, you can feel free to come to our website, Wisdom of the Womb Online. We have a ton of information, and you could always reach out to one of our Moon Sisters, our customer support team, for support. We're always here to help. We're all about educating you about herbs. And just to reiterate, the herbs for fertility are way different than the herbs for pregnancy. often you can drink the herbs for pregnancy when you're trying to get pregnant and they're fine. They might not always do the job, they might not always help, but I think herbs for pregnancy are really gentle and really safe. However, I'll say it again and again, and it says it on every bag, on every web page, and on every product. The herbs for fertility are not appropriate once you have a positive pregnancy test. Up until a positive pregnancy test, it's fine. Once you have a positive pregnancy test, discontinue use and switch to one of our pregnancy blends, which are very gentle and very safe for pregnancy. Bye.